We are about to repair our first iPad Air 2. As you can tell, the iPad Air 2 a little different than previous models. It comes with the Touch ID, just as the 5S, iPhone 6, and iPhone 6 Plus do, as well as the iPad Mini 3. Huge technological change in the way that these parts are reinstalled. Much like previous iPhones, the iPad Air 2 comes with a laminated LCD and glass digitizer. So this is going to be reconstructed in many ways just like an iPhone would. The only thing is, obviously, the adhesive is still a part of the game with these, so we're still going to have to apply plenty of heat to the frame of the device, and we'll peel it up. So here we go. Tools you're going to need: hair dryer or heat gun. I'm still a fan of the good old-fashioned hair dryer, simply because the heat doesn't get too high and cause any damage to underlying parts. iSessimos, name of the game, you gotta have those. And as well as, I think just as in any other iPad repair in the past, a pick or some sort of device that you can use to wedge in between the glass and that metal frame and allow it to not resettle after you've obviously separated it. You don't wanna have to do the work twice. All right, so here we go. We're gonna apply a little heat down here to the bottom. I would say the best place to start on the iPad Air 2 is going to be down here in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see that right here. And here we go. All right, and starting down in that corner, we're going to use that iSessimo tool to go ahead and try to get that up. I think if you apply enough heat, you shouldn't have to wedge anything in there to lift it up. So here we go. All right, we've got underneath that first ledge there. Okay, and moving on, we're going to continue to apply heat running up to the top of the iPad. And unlike previous iPads where you have a lot of space here on the bezels before you get to the underlying LCD, with this, obviously, there's going to be a recycle market for these underlying LCDs, so you don't want to damage that. If it's still good, which this one in this case is, you want to be able to get that off and be able to save yourself some money on the back end. As you can see, there's not a lot of space in between the LCD and that bezel, even though when you look from the front of the iPad, you look as if you've got well over 1/4 of an inch of space to work with. In reality, it's about half that. So here we go. Continue sliding up that side. I would not insert this any more than maybe at most, I would say about 1/8 of an inch. And there aren't any real danger zones or anything like that, like on previous iPads with the iPad 2s, with volume controls or anything like that. You're gonna have to worry about. We're coming up on our first part of the crack in this assembly, so we're gonna have to worry about that. But obviously, as you're moving along, insert those picks to keep your work from being undone. Due to that crack up here in this top corner, we're going to kind of skip around that. We're going to start back here at the bottom again and move around and come back to that, simply because if we try to work from that spot alone, I'm pretty sure that this is going to wind up cracking, whereas it's going to make our job even more difficult. So back to the bottom. Of course, be careful for the Touch ID, because just as in the iPhone 5S, the 6 and 6 Plus, if you damage that Touch ID, there's no way to ever reinstall another one again. All right, again, wouldn't insert more than about 1/8 of an inch or so. Right as you get back there to the Touch ID, I would suggest sliding in a pick to, again, keep that adhesive that you've undone from resticking. Pardon any background noise. We operate a repair shop here in Richmond, Virginia, and we are doing this just out in the open. If you get some good solid picks, you may be able to even avoid having to use the iSesamo, depending on how much you heat it up and whatnot. Obviously, using metal against metal on that frame, it could cause some small damage getting into it, but it's kind of to each his own. However you'd like to do it, I don't think there's really a wrong way in that. It's just a matter of making sure you're careful in whichever method you choose. All right, I'm going to reapply some heat now on the bottom left side. I'm going to go ahead and move up with a little more heat up the full left side, about midway through the mid-frame, to see if we can't go ahead and slide completely up there. I'm going to go back to an iSesamo here. All right, we're around that now. Sliding up again, no more than about 1/8 of an inch up that side, just to forsake any trouble. Again, pick going in. Still moving up this left side. It's actually coming off pretty easily. We're all the way up to the top left with that one move there. Maybe got a little ahead of ourselves there with not including any picks. Some of that adhesive's probably going to reseal, but once it's taken up, we should be pretty good. And as you can see, I'll slide this around so you can see. This pick is inserted here. You can kind of use this pick and press, and you can see the actual digitizer lifting up just simply by doing that. By doing that, you're kind of displacing pressure pretty well. You can see the entire digitizer moving up there. Gonna add another pick on this side, and we're pretty good to go there. All right, now we'll go back to some heat on this. Make sure an iSesamo on this one, you can leave that one kind of touched in there. Add heat to the top of the device again. Danger zone at the top on this one. If you've got a Wi-Fi only, you're not so much gonna have to worry about it. If you've got a 4G enabled iPad Air 2, you're gonna have to worry about the cellular antenna at the top of the device here. Very similar to any of the other iPads in the past. You're just gonna have to get on top of it and in between that and the frame. Pretty self-explanatory, as well as the front camera assembly is gonna be there to worry about as well. So obviously just be careful when you come across the top. And as many of you know that are in the repair industry, iPads tend to be something that takes quite a bit longer, and we're only 10 minutes into this video, and I would argue that we're probably well over halfway through this repair, which is going to bode well for us in the future. Again, coming right across the top near that front camera assembly, be very careful not to insert the ISSMO or whatever type of pry tool you're using too deep. Now we're coming over to the right side. Now here we're getting to the crack in our this particular iPad that we're working on's digitizer. Again, use the same techniques from before, pressing on these picks. You need to add more. There can never be too many in these. I highly suggest going and getting a bag of these, of a couple hundred. They make your life very easy. Very inexpensive tool. These ones right here we just grabbed off eBay. I think it was about $7 for the entire bag of about 500. All right, so reinstituting these down here at the bottom. All right, now we're going to apply some heat to this crack on this side right here. Those of you that aren't following there, you can see the crack right through here. It's actually a pretty minor crack. We're going to apply some heat to it now. All right, now we're sliding up the right side of the device here, coming close to the crack in our assembly. And like I said, again, you want to be very careful with these because the underlying LCDs that are laminated to this, there's still going to be some value in those. You're going to want to make sure you don't damage those much in the way that, you know, we already do recycles on phones themselves. We got to be very careful, especially where this crack is on this particular device. Alright, we've got one little sliver of glass coming up here. Moving that. Alright, let's see. Going around the top of the frame here. Be careful of the rear camera. Sliding down. Alright, it looks as if we're going to be able to go ahead and pry this guy out. Again, just be careful. If you've got picks and you want to move those out of your way now that you're no longer needing them, obviously you're free to do that. Sliding down. All right, digitizer coming up. Some of these picks that we've got here at the bottom of the device, we're going to go ahead and remove those as well. Maybe give them one last little pry to make sure everything's loosened up. You should, if you're coming from the top, have enough leverage to be able to simply pull it up. And you can see it's pretty simple. Be careful pulling it up. Again, we've got Touch ID down there to worry about. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver. We've got 3 screws in here attached to a plate, just like the iPad Air, iPad minis of the past. All screws are the same size, so there's no sense or no worries about getting them back in correctly or anything. plate comes off. We've got 3 pieces that we're gonna have to pop up. 3 ribbon cables, nylon spudger, do the trick. And again, if you're planning on recycling these or anything like that, be careful because you don't want to damage these connections. Once those are up, at that point, removing the display is going to be pretty easy. Got a little adhesive left down here at the bottom. As you can see, we folded it right on open. At this point, we're just getting some of the last adhesive. The adhesive here at the bottom of this is pretty strong. And there you go. Now we've completely removed the digitizer from it as well. And you can see here's the connections down here at the bottom, the 3 that you just have to worry about. 1, 2, 3, right there, creating kind of a U. You can't see that. And then, as you can see from the back side of this is the original. You can see the Touch ID right here and home button assembly. We're gonna have to remove that and adhere it to our new assembly. But as you can see, we have an original quality display here as well. Remove any excess tape, glue, any glass pieces, anything like that that is still there. You can use the back side of a ISSMO, will probably do the trick just fine. Right there. Or if you've got a metal spudger, this can be another good tool to use on it. Make sure all the glass is up as well. Like we're coming across some small little shards right now that are very, very small, but would make a nightmare when you get to re-adhering the brand new digitizer and LCD assembly. And you know, in the past, many of us have been able to do repairs on iPads, you know, for the cost of an OEM digitizer running around, you know, $25 to $30. That's not going to be the case with this repair. The digitizer is again laminated to the LCD and digitizer is one assembly, just like a phone. So on these, I believe our cost is about $190. So we're getting up all that tape. All right, now our frame looks pretty clean at this point. And I guess we're gonna get to removing this Touch ID assembly. All right, so at first glance, we're looking at it and we see some tape here. Let's take a look at it with you so we get a better idea. See some anti-connectivity tape down here. We're gonna have to remove that and save it, as well as some other small parts around here. When we compare our original quality here, I'm looking at a small ribbon connection. Let's see if I can show you this. We'll peel up this tape here momentarily. If you've got a small flathead, that may be a good tool to use here as well, just for simply scraping up these connections. So this little small ribbon here, if you look at it closely, dated right there, it looks very similar even to the connection for, say, like a home button on an iPhone 4 or 4S. You've got that little tab, you just simply pop it up, and then that home button's gonna slide out of there. We're peeling up that tape off the back side of the home button now. It's a pretty complicated home button assembly. There's another IC chip that I'm seeing here that's attached to it. Looks like no soldering or anything like that, so it's gonna be a pretty straightforward repair. But just again, be careful because you're never gonna, if you tear this by any chance, you'd be able to replace the home button, but you'd never be able to use Touch ID ever again on it. Peeling up some more anti-connectivity tape here. I highly advise setting this aside and reusing it when you apply to your new assembly here. All right, we're looking at the back here. Maybe a little heat applied to this probably wouldn't be a bad idea from the back side. You do it from the back and the front here. Yeah, both of these are strikingly similar to iPad mini and regular iPad Air home button assemblies. The way they're set on here is just super similar. You can tell that they're definitely, if they've definitely peeled different things from each of those devices to use in the construction of this one. All right, we're continuing to peel it up, moving down from that IC chip. Again, be very careful with these. There's ribbon cables. There's multiple ribbon cables running along the bottom here. Some are glued on pretty tightly. When I say pretty tightly, I mean it too. These are on here very good. Again, some more anti-connectivity tape here. All right. That's that. Now, on the actual home button bracket itself, this black piece here, it's super glued down. Super glued, some sort of clear, maybe super glue is probably the wrong word there, but it's really strong. I'm going to advise being very careful at this point. I don't see any other way in getting it off. It's not adhesive in terms of something you can apply heat to. It's just something you're going to have to get underneath and pry it off. Just be careful. And it's actually coming off a little easier than it looked at first. Same thing with the other side here. This other side has some sort of connection. I honestly am not really sure what it's for specifically. I mean, obviously the IC chip that's running off of it is probably going to control Touch ID. I would assume it has some sort of tie-in with that. So again, we want to be very careful with that. All right, we got the bracket up. That's there. And now you can see the back side of the home button there. Same little percussion cap that there's always been on most iOS devices. All right, and now we're getting to the home button itself. You've got a silicone gasket, very similar to the silicone gaskets on an iPhone 5 or 5C, or even the ones even so on a 5S as well. But there's also another sort of spacer there. In this case, this is a white iPad Air 2, so it's white. I'm probably going to assume that if you're working with a black one, it's going to be black. Just make sure you get that off. It's really easy to tell on this device. I would imagine on a black one, it's going to be a little harder to tell it's there. If you don't transfer that with the home button won't set properly into that specific hole. And when you're running your hand across the top of it, you'll be able to feel it raised up. So we've got pretty much most of this off now. One little sheath of tape here as well. We're going to peel that up and I'll show you what it looks like once we peeled it up. And again, I would advise setting this stuff aside and simply recovering what you've done on your other iPad Air 2. Yeah, so we simply got the home button assembly up now. So here it is. Touch ID for the iPad Air 2. Okay, and like I said, it's pretty straightforward on the reconstruction of it. At this point, we're going to set this aside. This is the original digitizer with the crack on the side of the frame there. Very slight, but nevertheless, it's a crack, and we're going to remove that. If your new device doesn't come with the camera bracket, I would advise transferring that as well. So we're going to remove that. So we've got that up now. Very small little plastic piece. All right. Setting aside our iPad Air 2 original digitizer, and now we're going to work with our new one here. All right. Remove these. We have just some tape covering the inner sides of the digitizer. All right, so at this point, we are going to take that original home button and transfer it to the bottom here. Again, there's a small ribbon cable here that runs, essentially it creates three sides of a square. We're gonna lay that with this point facing the side facing you right now. So we're looking at the left side of the iPad from the back. And we're gonna simply use a little spudger here to pop up the connection, slide it in. Again, this same type of connection is what we've seen on iPhone 4 and 4S's in the past. Simply slide in once it's in. Flip the latch down to lock it in place. That's that. Once we've done that, I would at this point situate the home button back in the hole. And if you've retained your original adhesive there, this job is actually proven to be pretty easy. Latch the IC chip down as well. And then before we lay down that tape there, you can kind of peel it back if it's in your way. Again, we've got to put this original bracket back in place. And down here at the bottom, there is a piece of sort of like foam with anti-connectivity tape printed to the back of it. And you can see this small metal right here. I don't know if you can even get that in the picture. See that metal? That's gonna have to be covered by that anti-connectivity tape. And that side with the exposed metal would be facing your workspace here to your right. Before you latch everything down, I would advise lifting up the iPad and touching the home button from the front side to make sure it still clicks. Ours is setting perfectly. I would advise also not using a high copy part in this because the way this is situated, you've got very little room for error, and anything that's off a little bit could definitely cause a problem in that home button being able to click properly. At that point, we're going to stick down that anti-connectivity tape there. We've got one piece from the left side that we are going to stick back down. You can actually see what we're going to use. We're going to use this piece of anti-connectivity tape to cover this right there, okay? So now that we've got that covered, we've got the entire assembly back together, clicking properly, IC chip in place, ribbon cable connected. At this point, reapply adhesive, and we are ready to attach this back to the original unibody. Okay, so we're applying adhesive here. And this piece is going up the right side here. We're going to utilize a small pair of scissors or a razor to work with this adhesive right now. All right, so we've got that laid there properly. piece of adhesive is going to lay across the top and go around the camera assembly. Again, I definitely advise using the OEM black tape, not using any 3M tape or anything of that sort. This is actually tape for the original iPad Air, so it fits mostly on here without issue. There's a couple little small modifications you have to make for it, and I think these are just simply in regards to ambient light sensors at the top of the device. Once pre-cut adhesive for these comes out, we'll obviously be buying those as well. All right, we've retained adhesive at the bottom of the device, so we're going to move forward with reconnecting the digitizer home button assembly. And as you remember, we have this plate, which is going to hold down the 3 ribbon connections. And like I said, essentially you can view this in many ways as the point at which you would reattach the cover on a 5C or a 5 or a 5S. And especially just like on the original iPad Air and the minis. 2 of these connections are actually on 1 ribbon, as you can see that. That's actually, those are not 2 individual ribbons, so just be careful with that. You're gonna probably want to put them down. Basically, I'll turn this so you can kind of see how I'm working with it. Again, make sure you find the point at which they go in there. Don't force these, just like on any others. This is a pretty expensive digitizer. Finding these is actually proven to be a little difficult. The top one's a bit larger. I'm going to line that one up, and once we get that one connected, the other should be easy. Still having a little trouble getting this one in. All right, there it goes. Top one connected, bottom one easily follows. And then we've got one larger connection here for the for the LCD itself. That's connected. At this point, we're looking at the front of our digitizer here, and the LCD assembly is showing on. This particular iPad is actually dead, but I advise trying to turn that on. You can see here at the bottom of the charger port, it's actually coming on. Okay, and again, it's time to replace the plate internally. I'll turn this to you guys so you can see me actually work. And again, you'll need just a small Phillips head to replace these 3 screws. And again, these 3 screws, all the same size. It doesn't matter where they go, just as long as they're all 3 there. And from the way this is lifting up, I would advise setting one and not completely tightening it, and then going back, placing the other 2 on, and then going ahead and finishing them off by tightening them all the way down. I would say from across the board, this repair has been pretty easy. I think it's gonna make our lives a little easier in terms of quickness on getting iPads out the door. The only thing about it is obviously the cost on these is going up pretty significantly. We're also gonna replace the camera frame assembly here at the top. And we are gonna lay this down and replace it. Just one second here, I got the cover. Holding it down. All right, we're gonna lay it down into place. And again, this is OEM, so it fits perfectly on here. We're gonna press it into place. It's looking pretty solid so far. Great first attempt at this repair. All right, removing the cover for it. As you can see here, we're all done. and see if you can see the, again, the iPad itself is dead, but there we go. Back on, working just fine, and I assume we'll power this guy back up, get it back to a customer. If you have any questions about this in terms of some of those connections, or if you need like any closer up views or any advice on how to work around some of those ribbons at the bottom, feel free to comment in the section below. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you're familiar with working with iPads in the past, as well as some of the newer iPhones, especially the 6 and 6 Plus, this right here should be a very easy repair for you. 10 being the hardest, 1 being the easiest. I'd rate this somewhere middle of the road. The parts weren't so expensive, I'd probably drop that down even lower. So you just want to be really careful working with it. But again, this is FruitFixed iPhone, iPad, mobile device repairs. We're located in Richmond, Virginia. Our website is fruitfixed.com, and that's FRUITFIXED.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all under @FruitFixed, and that's FRUITFIXED, and you can simply type that in on Facebook and it'll take you to us as well. If you have any questions, again, feel free to ask, and thanks for watching.